Hey, everybody, Steve Bederman. Looking forward to talking to you this season about a lot of new topics. Obviously, you sort of know where I stand on many things. And today I'm going to highlight some of those things that I think are actually going to help you when you're looking at your own business. It's going to be raw. It's not going to be all happy talk, but it is going to be real talk. Um, my producer put together some suggestions of topics after examining our audience and what the audience seems to be looking towards and needing. And I hope some of those things resonate for you. I'm going to speak off the top. I'm not going to go deeply into all of the key points. I'm just going to tell you, Steve, how Steve feels. And you're going to get that. And hopefully that's going to give you a sense of truth. And with that, let's get started. The first topic is culture code, the culture code lie, culture that eats strategy. You know, a buzzword in the industry has been culture, 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 culture over strategy. Let me be clear here. Culture is a critical piece. It's a foundation piece of any team, any situation, any home, any business, any organization. Culture is something that is, though, the outcome of really natural behavior. It's the outcome of people doing people things in honesty and reality and with a sense of truth. So where do you start? Do you start saying, here's my culture and then I'm going to overlay my strategy? Or what is my strategy and where does the culture build? And look, I'm a strategic guy, but I also believe that you have to know what you know. You have to understand your belief system, and you have to set your core values as the driver of all of your behaviors in a company. So let me start with something you may have heard me talk about before, which is the core value of a company is really the core value that resonates to the leader that puts that organization together, that decides within their singular belief system what is valuable and what is important and what is the outcome we're looking for. I'm not talking about revenue outcome. I'm talking about behavioral outcome because through that, all of the cultural identifiers come out. Revenue, if not built, and profitability, if not built through good behaviors and doing right things right, is just probably not going to last. It may happen, but key in business is sustainability and affordability and the persistence that's required. And the persistence is driven by the core values. So I'm going to talk about our company, NobelBiz. Our core value is pretty simple, and we tell the world what it is, but we also talk about it in-house a lot. And it's not easy to accomplish, although it sounds very simple. And it's that when we make a promise, we do everything we can think about doing to keep that promise. I just told you our core value. I also told you our culture. I told you the necessity of what we do is to do things for the customer. So within that context, if we then build an organization where every single decision we make is matched against that core value, we should be okay, right? No, it's not right. Because sometimes, in spite of our best intentions, we have these conflicting interests. One of them, the big one is money. So I got into a discussion with one of our staff some time ago, and today it still eats at me because it set me up for conflict. Because after all, as the leader of this company, I set this promise keeping ideal, our core value, out there. And we've built all of our systems on doing the next right thing for our clients, no matter at what cost, no matter at what energy necessary, and no matter at what compromise we make. So we just bought NobelBiz. In buying NobelBiz, we took ownership of some of their past behaviors that we didn't own. But nonetheless, the customers shouldn't have to pay the price between the past administration and the current administration, right? Seems logical, seems fair, and it seems doing the next right thing for people. So a client said, "You have been misbilling me for a very long time." Well, we looked into it as the new owners, and we discovered there was about a $75,000 overbilling that had been done for some years at different intervals, unintentionally, but nonetheless, it happened. Now, the contract itself from the past, which is still the same contract we're honoring today, uh, the term of liability had ended. So in ending that, that meant that from a legal perspective, there was no point in having to defend it nor pay the money to the client. Some of the inbound comments from our staff in trying to defend why we were not liable was simply that, well, the customer should have been aware of this too. But let me be clear with you. When we take on customers, we do not give them a psych test. We do not evaluate their business acumen. We take on customers because we, not they, we need those customers for our business. And so we take customers of all types. So suggesting that a customer should know something or own an outcome because of their behavior or lack of attention, even though we were at fault, to me seemed counter to the culture that we had built, which is, as a promise keeping culture, what you're really saying to the customer is, we're going to care and it's going to show, right? It's not just do this thing and turn this switch at this time in this way. It's that we're good people, we're decent people, and responsible people. All of that coming out of this single core value. But here's our conflict. We didn't have the money to pay for that customer at that time, that amount of money. So what did we do? Well, look, culture is never something that is easy. It is it is really an endeavor to do the right things based on what that core value is. So we talked to the customer and we said, look, we're in a situation. We just bought the company. The old ownership is not intending to cover this. It doesn't matter. We want to cover this, but let our honesty speak volumes. We don't have the cash right now. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to provide a credit that you can use over the term until you use it up, the full amount. We felt like that was the best thing that we could afford to do. We felt like it was being responsible and consistent with our core value. The customer wouldn't accept it. The customer said, no, I want my money now. So that presented the conflict. What do you do in a situation like that? Now, I'm not going to give you the answer, but I'd sure love if you ever do take the time to hear this story through. I would love to know what you would do in a situation such as that, remembering that our core value, our culture, our decisions are all based on being customer-centric, offering embracing interest in who they are and what they are, and not holding them accountable for their behavior, but recognizing that it's up to us to do everything we can do. So that's how we make our cultural approach, but at the same time, what we do is we weigh our decisions as best we can without implying that we shouldn't when things are hard. We weigh that against that single core value. So it isn't blasphemy. It isn't a lot of words. It isn't a long mission statement. It's just simply that. And then how do we design it? How do we design the hardcore behaviors that go with that? That becomes now the situation. Well, we say that to be responsible to that customer and to make a promise and keep it when we talk to our customer requires us to be what? Highly disciplined. It requires us to hold people accountable internally. It requires us to take on every instance of support with a client, whether the issue is on us or somewhere else. In other words, it insists that we be the guide for solution the minute we become aware of a problem where it's impacting the use of the system that they are using with us. So, how do you do that? Becomes the question. What pieces do you put in place in your organization to make sure that you're going to have that disciplined, audit proof behavior that assures that you're doing things in a dependable and repeatable way for the customer? Because I'll tell you this, if we walk in and say our good intentions are the point here, and that we're going to do our best and kumbaya, we're all in it with the customer, rah, rah, rah. But in fact, we haven't built anything except good intentions, then there's no assurance that it's anything but words and hope. And words and hope are not what businesses should do. It is what some businesses do. And here's the kicker. When people are worried about their culture in their business, and sometimes the culture interferes with the strategy, and they do this soft talk culture where everybody is intently respectful of each other and everybody chooses the right words to never embarrass or humiliate or do things in public. When that happens, you're now having to think about your behavior. Well, thinking about your behavior destroys culture because culture is the natural outcome of behavior. If I'm thinking about my behavior, then it's stilted. It's just not working right. Don't you see that? I hope you see that. So here's my approach to it. This is the Steve approach to things. Very straightforward, very direct, very honest, recognizing that there is no perfection here, but it doesn't imply that we can fail. So we build process, we hold each other accountable to that process, we audit that process, and we deviate every time we need to from that process for pace, fluidity, speed to hasten the best outcome for the client. Now, we don't abandon the process, but when we have to go against our process, it's a simple decision. There's not, we don't get caught and frozen because of process. We make the best decision in the moment for the customer. And later we'll go back and we're going to evaluate how come we had to do that? What kind of a process is this if it isn't accommodating situations such as that? So the process becomes attacked, but not the situation that the customer it's necessary to do to resolve their immediate issue in front of them. So that's one of the things that we do. The other thing we do is my honesty says, here's what we intend to do, everybody, as a company. Here's where we are financially. Here's where we are in our challenges. Here's what we're missing. Here's what I expect of me and you. Here's what I don't see us doing. Here's the amazing stuff we are accomplishing. We are here because we chose each other to be here. We have the choice as a company to hire anybody, but it's you we want with us. And it's you we want with us because you can fulfill the mission, not because you're the perfect chemistry for us. If you can't fulfill the mission, I don't care how special you are as a person, you're not going to work, you're not going to make it. And we say that to you. At the same time, holistic is important. So you can't just be one thing without another. How many times have I let go of our top salespeople in my career because they just couldn't fit within the company? They were making great sales and abusing everybody in the company, and that didn't work either. So there is a balance. But at the same time, listen, everything when you hire for passion, you hire for flexibility, you hire for continuity of your business. You don't necessarily hire for specific skills unless skills are the only thing you need, and then go hire a contractor because the employees are at a different level. And those are the people that every day have to wake up and have to go to sleep thinking about the core value. Make a promise, keep a promise. And how do you pull that off? So, where does a manager sit into this? A manager's job is to force the decisions that are being made towards the core value. But if make a promise, keep a promise requires fluidity, agility, and pace, that means one other thing. That means you have to tell your people that they get to make decisions. It's up to them in the heat of the moment to make the right decision that they can make, and it's simple. Balance it against the core value, but make the decision. If you've made the wrong decision, but it's active and forceful for the customer, not for the company, that's a no-no, then we're going to go with it. Let's say it was the wrong decision. Well, you know what? Make a different decision tomorrow. That's life. Life happens. We make how many decisions every day? Let your people make decisions. Let them test their decisions against the core value. Don't undermine that by challenging them on their decisions. Go with it, give them support in the moment, and later evaluate it and learn from it. But teach your people to make decisions, base those decisions on your core value, and guess where you're going to end up? You're going to end up with a balanced, passionate, wonderful culture based upon the simplicity of a single core statement that equates to the value. And you're going to spread that daily into your discussion, into your behavior, into your decisions. And you're going to recognize that there are times like the $75,000 story I told you, where you're in conflict because what you want to do versus what you can do are different. And so what you have to do, and now I'll get back to what I did in that situation. What you have to do is be straight, just like you are with your people. Be straight to the customer about your situation. Just be human. It's humans working with humans. Don't forget that. Nobody is bigger or smaller. So the bottom line is this. I say to the customer, here's my situation. I want to cover this. I don't have the cash to do it right now. This is the best way I can conceive of coming up with it. Certainly, you get a say in terms of if you can accept it or not, but this is what I can do to embrace you. I want you as a client, but I have to have a real relationship to accommodate a good relationship going forward. So with that, that's Culture by Steve. Take care.